Hi, welcome back to my channel, Open the Door. This is episode 152, Unlock the Shift from Judgment to Compassion. On the path to the new earth, this concept I've been talking a lot about lately, judgment can't lead. Only awareness and compassion can. But you see, judgment doesn't just live in how we see others, it lives first in how we see ourselves. And if we're not careful, it becomes a cycle, one that quietly poisons our peace, our relationships, and our healing. What we hold in our hearts, we help create in the world because energy doesn't lie. So judgment becomes toxic when it turns from awareness into identity and when it hardens into things like criticism, separation, and emotional reactivity. What we judge externally often reflects what we haven't healed internally. So what is judgment really? Well, judgment in itself isn't bad. It's a natural human function. It helps us to discern, to make decisions, and stay safe. But the shift happens when it becomes constant and it lacks compassion and it turns into labeling of ourselves and others. So discernment says, this doesn't feel right for me. But judgment says, there's something wrong with you, whether we're referring to someone else or ourselves. Here's how judgment becomes a cycle. So we judge others, and then that reinforces these inner beliefs that we have, causing the beliefs to turn inward and on ourselves, and we begin judging ourselves. And that leads to shame and guilt and insecurity, and then we project that outward onto others as judgment. So the cycle is judgment, projection, inner criticism, emotional pain, and more judgment. Listen closely. What we reject in others often mirrors what we haven't accepted in ourselves. And the emotional cost of this toxic cycle, can lead to disconnection from others and from ourselves, increased anxiety and defensiveness, a lack of empathy, stagnation in healing. And it creates a hardened lens where everything is filtered through criticism instead of understanding. So judgment, where does it come from? Well, it's often rooted in unhealed wounds and childhood conditioning. It's often rooted in judgment from others that's been harshly directed toward us. Here's some specific examples of how society has conditioned us to judge. So the first one is through appearance and beauty standards. From a young age, we're taught to evaluate people based on how they look. We've heard or said things like, she's let herself go. He should dress better. Well, that's not attractive. We absorb messages from media, ads, and even family about what is acceptable and what is worthy. And the truth is that we're trained to equate appearance with value. Another way society conditions us to judge is on the aspect of success and status. So society defines success very narrowly by having money, a successful career, being productive. And we just tend to judge each other based on their job, looking down on those who struggle financially and comparing our lifestyles with others. This conditioning says if you're not achieving, you're failing. And then when we judge others, we are quietly feeling judged ourselves for not having as high of an income as the person beside us. Another way society has conditioned us is through emotional expression. So many of us are taught that certain emotions are bad or indicate that we're weak. We've heard or said things like, stop crying, man up, you're too sensitive. So what happens is we begin to judge others for being emotional and ourselves for feeling at all, having any kind of feelings. Another area of societal conditioning has to do with religion and moral superiority. In some environments, people are taught that there's only one right way to live, the right way to believe, or the right way to be. And then we're taught to judge others for having different beliefs and labeling people as good or bad. Fear-based thinking is stressed around what's wrong and who's wrong and what's right and who's right. And this creates separation instead of understanding. Cultural and generational beliefs are also another form of societal conditioning. We inherit biases without even realizing. Saying or hearing phrases like, people like that are ... That's just how we are. That's just how they are. And we've drawn into stereotyping entire groups of people. These judgments are often passed out quietly through comments, jokes, or even silence. And the social media culture of conditioning. This one is huge today for all of us because we're constantly comparing, critiquing, consuming others' curated lives. Making quick judgments becomes normal just based on one post or one opinion or one moment or one comment. We've been conditioned through social media to react instantly and not to go deeper and try to understand. So one more point I want to make about the societal conditioning in the area has to do with productivity and judgments of worth. Rest is often judged as laziness. Hearing or saying phrases like, you should be doing more, or don't waste time. Being busy equals being valuable. And so we judge others for slowing down, and then we judge ourselves for needing rest. So, as you can tell, there's a lot of judging going on, and we most of the time aren't even aware that we're doing it. Here's some suggestions and for reflections of how to begin to break this cycle. First of all, become aware of when you're judging, and that just takes an awareness, a presence of paying attention to your words and your behavior. And once you become aware, then ask yourself these questions. Whose voice is behind my judgment? Is this truly mine or something I was conditioned to believe? Is this about them or is something in me being triggered? And where did I learn to see through this lens? Because what happens is once you become aware of the judgment, then you shift from the awareness into a softening of your reaction. And this is the healing doorway. This is where you step through into a more stable and healed path. So for others, instead of asking, why are they like that? Try asking, what might they be carrying? And for yourself, instead of saying, I can't believe I did that, try saying, I'm human and I'm learning. And yes, I make mistakes. So 4 little steps to break the cycle. 1, pause before reacting. Notice your tone of voice, especially toward others and with yourself. Replace labels with curiosity. Another step to break the cycle would be set boundaries without judgment. It's okay to walk away without condemning the other. And practice self-compassion daily. 4 little steps to stop the cycle of judgment of yourself and others. In closing, I'd like to say this. Judgment builds walls. Compassion opens doors. Compassion doesn't excuse behavior. It strives to understand it. And healing begins the moment we choose to see the difference and to act accordingly. You don't have to keep living in a world shaped by judgment, especially your own. You get to decide how you see people, and you get to decide how you see yourself. And that choice, that's power. So choose compassion, not because others always deserve it, but because you deserve the peace that comes with it. That's our episode for today. Hey, sorry about the delay. I was under the weather for a few days. And now I'm back. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you coming back, especially all my regular viewers. And welcome to any new viewers that may be here as well. I hope you've been well and taking good care of yourselves. And I'll see you again very soon, within just a few days. In the meantime, I wish you peace and love and light. Have a great day. And I'll see you again very soon. That's it for now. Bye.